this is Jeff Short. Welcome to another edition of Christian Answers, and we're going to be continually talking about the NBC interview with Hillary Clinton. Chuck Todd interviewed Hillary Clinton and asked about the issue of abortion, and a couple weeks ago we talked about Donald Trump and his stand on abortion. We talked last week about Hillary Clinton's comments on abortion, and we looked at the video. And today we're going to actually be looking at the transcript that Hillary Clinton and Chuck Todd produced in this interview. And we're going to look at some of the details of the position of Hillary Clinton on abortion. And we're going to see how very, very deadly and evil this really is. Because if you listen to the interview alone, if you listen to the video of it, it's only a short clip on what she actually says about abortion, but if you look at actually the transcript of what that interview produced, you'll actually find what she's saying. And she uses words very carefully, and she says things that you have to actually look at the printed edition and find out what it actually means. So what happened was Chuck Todd interviewed her, and he started out, he said, you know, also this week you were pretty tough on Donald Trump on one of his positions of abortion. He had 5 different positions that we've counted up this week on abortion. I want to ask you, what is yours? Give me your straightforward position on the issue of abortion. So Chuck Todd talks about Donald Trump's 5 positions on abortion, and that's not surprising. I did a video a couple weeks ago on Donald Trump's answer as regard to what would happen to women if Roe v. Wade were reversed and abortion were made illegal in this country, and what would be the result to women who then went ahead and defied the law and had a criminal abortion. Well, Donald Trump answered off the top of his head and said, well, there would have to be some punishment for the woman. He didn't say what it would be, and he didn't know what it would be, but there would have to be some punishment to the woman. And I did a video on that, and I felt that that was an appropriate answer coming from Donald Trump, ironically. So the reason it is an appropriate answer is if you have abortion illegal in the country, and then you make it a criminal offense to have an abortion, and then a woman goes into abortion clinic and pays a doctor to do a illegal abortion, yes, there should be some kind of punishment for the woman who goes in to have her baby murdered, and that's what it is. She would be hiring someone to kill her child. And are we supposed to say, no, there wouldn't be any punishment, there would be no fine, there would be nothing that the woman would have to suffer if she were to try to procure an illegal abortion? Well, no, that makes no sense. If it's illegal, then it's criminal. If it's criminal, then if you participate in a crime, there is some form of punishment, obviously. So I think Donald Trump was speaking correctly on that specific topic, but his views of abortion is a fluid view because it changes all the time, and that makes sense because Donald Trump doesn't have a conviction about abortion. He is simply fishing around for a way to get elected. He wants to win the Republican nomination, so he wants to figure out what Republicans will support, and then when he gets to the general election, if he gets that far, he wants to find out what the general population in this country would vote for in a president, and then he will adopt that position. So we shouldn't be surprised that Donald Trump had, they counted 5 positions on abortion within 1 week, because he doesn't have a conviction about it. And that's what I've been telling people about Donald Trump all along. He doesn't have a lot of strong moral convictions. He doesn't have a lot of strong moral stands because he is a pragmatic businessman and he's trying to achieve a goal. And right now his goal happens to be he wants to be the president, or at least he wants to win the Republican nomination. So he'll do whatever he has to do, say whatever he has to say on any position, and that's why I don't feel he's a good candidate. Okay, so that's a different issue altogether. But then Chuck Todd asked Hillary Clinton what is her position on abortion. Now, Hillary Clinton is different from Donald Trump. Hillary Clinton has had a consistently pro-death, pro-abortion position as far as she has been in public life. She has had a very clear belief and conviction on abortion. And her belief and conviction, in a nutshell, is a woman should have the absolute right to abort her unborn child at any time, for any reason, under any circumstances. So in other words, she believes in the absolute universal right of a woman to kill her child in the womb whenever she wants to. And that is such a evil position because it denies the personhood of that child in the womb. It denies that there is a life there. It denies the humanity of that child. When you give someone, whether it's the mother, the father, or whoever, whenever you give someone the power of life and death, to take a life for any reason or no reason at all, that is something that is illegitimate. It should never have been granted to a woman. A mother is responsible for caring for that life that's within her. She is not responsible to make a choice about the life and death of that child in the womb. And so Hillary Clinton takes a very wicked and evil and deadly position on abortion, but she has been consistently that way. So there's no hypocrisy there. She has always told everyone where she stands on the issue of abortion. She should not be president because she takes a death stand, a culture of death position on this specific instance. But at least she's been consistent. She hasn't flip-flopped like Donald Trump and some of the other people. Well, Chuck Todd asked her, what is your position on abortion? Here's what she said. My position is in line with Roe v. Wade that women have a constitutional right to make these most intimate and personal and difficult decisions based on their conscience, their faith, their family, their doctor, and that is something that really goes to the core of privacy. So again, here is this universal, absolute right and power for a woman to take the life of an unborn child, the child in her womb. She has an absolute right in Hillary Clinton's eyes to kill, to murder, to snuff out the life of an individual for any reason at all. And her position, she'll at the end talk about extremists. Well, that is an extreme position. That is a scary and awful kind of belief, that you think that a woman should have this awesome and powerful position that she can kill the child in the womb. That should not be granted to any human being, the power of life and death in that instance. This is an innocent human life. It is a human person, as she will go on and say, and yet she believes that the mother has a right to kill this person for any inconvenience it might pose on the woman's life and lifestyle or mental or psychological or emotional state. It's just totally outrageous that she would take that position, but that is a position in our country that people have taken. It shouldn't be that way, but that's the way it is, and she takes that position, and she sees it as a core right to privacy. So, in other words, she feels that a woman doesn't have to account to anyone, that she doesn't have to explain to anyone, she doesn't have to justify to anyone, that this is a private right that she has because there's a child growing in her womb. She should have the perfect, total control over that child. But here's the inconsistency. The moment that that child is born, it's somehow magically invested with all kinds of rights. It doesn't make sense. What's the difference of a geographical location of this child? Child's 9 months pregnant. The woman's 9 months pregnant. She has a child in her womb. The baby's born. All of a sudden, magically, the child becomes this person with all kinds of rights and privileges and can't be touched or else it's murder. No, it's murder if someone kills it in the womb. It's murder 1 minute after birth. It would be murder 1 minute before birth. It does not change the person. It does not change that baby's status one iota where it's located geographically. Hillary Clinton seems to want to invest some kind of divine, mystical, magical status once this baby is actually moved from the womb into the cradle. It somehow becomes a special person then, but before that, anything is possible. You can kill it, you can dismember it with late-term abortion techniques, you can put saline injection in there and burn the baby to death and then miscarriage. You can do anything you want with that, abuse that child in any way, shape, or form, but then, 1 minute after birth, it's a magical, mystical, divine being now, that it's outside, it's exposed to air. It makes no sense, and her philosophy makes no logical sense. It makes no moral sense. It's just an arbitrary point where she has decided she's going to fight for a woman's right to do whatever she wants to do with her child, even kill it, if it's still in the womb. And so but she's been consistent with that. That's the thing. She's been consistent with it, and everyone knows where she stands, and I think that disqualifies her from being president. She doesn't respect life sufficiently. That's why she cannot be president. And she goes on, I want to maintain that constitutional protection under Roe v. Wade. So she wants that abortion privilege and right to continue. As you know, there is room for reasonable kinds of restrictions. That's a strange kind of a statement, and we don't know what that means. After a certain point in time, I think the life and health of the mother are clear, and those should be included even as one moves on in that pregnancy. So again, she's back to the mother. What she's saying is, she's really saying that late-term abortion should be totally allowable and permissible. It's all about the mother. It's all about the mother. She wants to clearly tell everyone that in her eyes, the baby in the womb counts for zero. Counts for zero. There are zero rights. She'll go on later and talk about the unborn person in the womb has no constitutional rights. That's exactly where she's coming from. She wants that to be maintained. She wants the baby in the womb to continue to have no rights. And she wants the woman, the pregnant woman, to have every right to do whatever she wants with the baby in the womb. So this is a terrible inconsistency. This is illogical. It's immoral. It defies reasonable thinking, and yet that's her position. So she goes on. So for many years, I've held the same position for many, many years. That's true. That's correct. Okay, Chuck Todd says, when or if does the unborn child have constitutional rights? Hillary Clinton, well, under our laws currently, that is not something that exists. Something that exists. What is she talking about? She's saying, under our current law, Roe v. Wade, the unborn child has no constitutional rights. That's what she's saying. The unborn person, she says, doesn't have constitutional rights. That's the problem. That's the big, tragic problem in our country. The unborn person has no constitutional rights. Every other person has constitutional rights. A crippled person, a deformed person, a blind person, a mentally ill person, a person of a different ethnic group, male have rights, female have rights. Now we have all these gender label, they all have rights. Older people have rights, younger people have rights, children have rights, teenagers have rights, married couples have rights, all kinds of persons have rights. Hospitalized persons have rights, even people in jail, persons in jail have rights. The unborn person in the womb has no constitutional rights. And Hillary Clinton wants to keep it that way. That's the problem. That's the problem, people. She is insensitive to a basic truth about human rights. If a person is a person, it should have right. That person should have rights. And she acknowledges that the person in the womb, it is a person. And yet she says, under our current constitutional law, it has no rights. And she says, I want to keep that the way it is. She wants to keep the person in the womb with no rights. That's the problem. Now she goes on. Now that doesn't mean that we don't do everything we possibly can in the vast majority of instances to, help a mother who is carrying a child and wants to make sure of that child will be healthy to have appropriate medical support. So now she's talking about the woman's health, and if the woman wants to keep the baby in the womb, now it's called a child. And now we should do everything we can to keep that child healthy and protect that child and give that medical attention and everything like that. If the woman wants that baby, then we should do everything we can to help that baby be healthy. But according to Hillary Clinton, if that woman doesn't want that baby, we should do everything we can to help her kill that baby. That's what her philosophy is. Now, she doesn't say it that way. She says it in legalese or lawyer speak. But what she's basically saying is, if the mother deems that child worthy and wants that child, then we should do everything we can. Give them free health care. Give that child every neonatal care and the woman maternity care and all kinds of free insurance and health and medical benefits, and help that woman bear that healthy child. But if that woman doesn't want that baby, if that woman doesn't want that person in the womb, then we should have every opportunity for that woman to kill that child, to put that child down, to kill that child, to murder that child. And that's what Hillary Clinton wants. She wants women to have that right to make a choice in their mind to say, is this baby what I want? Good, then I'll get all the benefits of the healthcare system. If this baby is not what I want, then I should have the healthcare system help me kill that child and get rid of that child. That's what she wants. That's cold. That's cruel. She shouldn't be president because she has an insensitivity to human life. Now, she goes on and says some very hard to understand thing. It says, it doesn't mean that you shouldn't do everything possible to try to fulfill your obligations, whatever that means, but it does not include sacrificing the woman's right to make decisions. And I think that there's an important distinction that under Roe v. Wade we have had enshrined in our Constitution. So I think what she's talking about is we should try to help that baby be as healthy as possible, unless the woman in somehow, some shape, some way feels either mentally or psychologically or emotionally threatened, and then we should have that woman be able to just terminate that pregnancy, to kill that child in the womb for any reason or no reason at all, if that woman doesn't feel comfortable in bearing that child. So in other words, she wants to have no obligation on the part of the woman, once pregnant, to bring that baby to birth. She wants the woman to have a complete freedom to be able to choose up until the time of birth to either thumb up, yeah, I want you, or thumbs down, no, I don't want you, let's kill you. She wants that kind of terrible freedom in the hands of pregnant women, and I think it's totally inappropriate in a civilized society to give individuals the power of life and death like Hillary Clinton wants to give women who are pregnant. Now, Chuck Todd says, you have said that you think there's room for some restrictions. So is it fair to say that women don't always have a full right to choose? It's a good question. She's been talking exclusively in terms of women's rights. They should have the full right to choose to terminate their baby at any time up until birth. And so but yet she does say that Roe v. Wade might have some provisions for restrictions, and then he's saying, well, what are you talking about? She says, well, under Roe v. Wade, that is the law. In other words, there are provisions for restricting late-term abortions in Roe v. Wade. States may regulate that. And as I said, I support the reasoning and the outcome of Roe v. Wade. So she's saying, well, I kind of go along with that in some sense. So in the third trimester of pregnancy, there is room for looking at the life and the health of the mother. Again, she's talking about the mother. It's all about the mother. It's all centered on the woman. She cares nothing about that child. It's all about what the woman feels or thinks or wants or desires or whatever. It always comes back to what the woman wants. That's what we have to remember about Hillary Clinton. It's all about the woman. It's nothing about the child. The child is nothing until it's born, in her view. Or unless the woman wants that child to be born, then it's something. That's not the way God sees things. God sees that child as important whether the woman likes the child or not. Whether the world likes the child or not, it's totally irrelevant. God has that child as a unique human person, whether the woman thinks it's unique or human or a person or needs to be born or not. God is for that child. Now, she says, now most people, not all Republicans, not all conservatives even agree with the life of the mother. Most do. So she's trying to take jabs at people who have pro-life convictions of varying degrees. Where the distinction comes in is the health of the mother. Now we know under Roe v. Wade, she says the health of the mother, but Roe v. Wade leaves the health of the mother such a broad and general term that you can drive a truck through it. It could be the health, the mental health of the mother, emotional health of the mother, spiritual health of the mother, physical health of the mother, financial health of the mother. It can mean anything. All you have to do is have some doctor of some type, physical doctor, medical doctor, psychiatrist, psychologist, whatever, sign a form, and the woman can have an abortion at any time. That's how big the exemption is. Now, and when you have, she says, and when you have candidates running around for president who say that there should be no exceptions, not for rape, not for incest, not for the health, then I think you've got pretty extreme positions. Well, there are some candidates who allow for exceptions, and then there are other candidates who say, well, they take a pro-life position because they value the life in the womb. They value the woman's life, but they also value the baby's life. And it's not the baby's fault if it's come into this world and conceived in this world through rape or incest. It's not the baby's fault. So you don't take it out on the baby. The woman was victimized by a rapist, but you don't go to the baby and say, your mother was victimized, so we're going to kill you. You don't say to the baby in the womb, your mother was victimized through incest, so we're going to take your life. We're going to murder you. Two wrongs don't make a right. And so if you're pro-life and the baby in the womb is the product of rape or incest, that's a tragic crime that was committed against the woman and the mother, but you don't take it out on the baby. The baby's still an innocent baby in the womb. And so Hillary Clinton doesn't seem to understand that logic. She mocks that. But that's a consistent pro-life position. And so we have nothing to be ashamed about there. I mean, yes, there could be a possible exception if the mother's health, her physical life is in danger. And in these very rare instances, like 0.0011 cases, 99.99999% of all pregnancies, it never come to this. But if there is a tragic situation where one of the two, the baby or the mother, will die. If the baby is born, then I think most people would say, well, we have to save that mother, tragically. And abortion would be a tragic outcome. But that hardly ever happens. That choice is hardly ever a choice. And so, if that were an exception, that everybody understands that exception. But that's not what we're talking about. We're talking about killing a healthy, perfectly healthy baby in the womb without any risk to the mother. That's unjustifiable, and that's murder. And so there's no justification for it. And Hillary Clinton is trying to say that if you don't allow for the total and absolute decision and right of a woman to kill her baby, then you're not being fair. Well, no, we're just simply being reasonable and logical and moral. And you don't give someone the choice of life and death. You don't give a young woman the choice of whether she wants to kill her baby or not. It shouldn't even be given into her hands as a choice. And so Hillary Clinton says that it should be a choice and not a mandate. And then she goes on, curiously enough, as a big government proponent, she says, well, I don't think government should be in the position of telling people what to do. And she says, I've seen what governments do when they make decisions for people. And so she says at the end, so I don't think we should be allowing the government to make decisions that really properly belong to the individual. She almost sounds like a libertarian there. So on this instance, she goes libertarian. But see, this is inconsistency. We should expect it. She's arguing for this immoral, evil right to kill a baby in the womb, and then when we talk about restricting that non-right, she says, well, we should leave it up to the individual. Government shouldn't be intervening, although she's a big government proponent. She doesn't mind government intervening in every other aspect of life. So we see it's just totally inconsistent. That's why she needs to never, ever be president. And we need to pray that it never gets to that, because she's a scary, radical, immoral, evil person when it comes to abortion, because she wants to keep things the way they are. She wants to keep 1.5 million babies to 2 million babies every year in the United States being murdered. She wants to keep the 50 to 60 million babies that have been killed since Roe v. Wade. She wants to keep that going another 30, 40 years, racking up another 50 million babies murdered. She wants to do that again and again and again, and she wants to call that a right. And we call that a wrong, we call that immoral, and we need to continue to press that argument and never back down. Well, I hope that's been some more clarity to you, and I hope that this causes you to think more about this issue, and we'll see you back here next week on another edition of Christian Answers. God bless.